Hey guys, it's Dave. It's been a while since I did a video, but if you're still watching, I want to address a few things on this one, and hopefully I don't forget everything. As you can see, this is just a small amount of my collection. I have sold a lot of my collection, but these are some of the ones that I have, and I still have some more. But there's a few things I wanted to address here. So you can see in front of you that you have the Manix 2 lightweight, as well as the Native 5 lightweight, a couple versions. So you have the Magna Cut. Okay. We have the old school CTS XHP. Probably never getting rid of that one with the pins construction. We have the CPM 15V. You know what, just for some contrast, let me move this over and open up the Magna Cut serrated and the CPM 4V. Okay, so I want to address a few things, and like I said, I hope I remember everything, but there's been some, in my opinion, and not just mine, but a couple other videos I saw online, someone else I was speaking to, a distributor recently, actually today, and there's some concerning quality control issues, I would say, among some of the Spyderco line. Maybe you noticed it, maybe you haven't. And you know me, if you've watched any of my videos, I'm very cut and dry. I'm straight to the point. I have strong beliefs and opinions about things. And if you disagree, that's fine. If you agree, that's great. But if you're just going to lambast and show utter vitriol in the comments, then go watch another video, because I don't have time for that here, and nobody does. We don't need that negative nonsense. But like I said, I can say constructive criticism. If you have a disagreement with anything I'm about to tell you, that's perfectly fine. But the other stuff, no. The childish, immature stuff, the argumentative stuff, grow up and move on. Go watch another YouTube channel, if that's the case. So, a couple things. One, oh, you know what? Do I have... Hold on, guys. I gotta grab one more. Be right back. Alright, sorry about that, guys. There was one more I could not forget to bring to the table to show you as a comparison and reference what I'm kind of getting at. So the next one is the Manix 2 lightweight and CPM 15V. Okay, let's see if I can make room for everything here. So I do like the lightweight version model, I think, better than the G10, or, I mean, I've never held the carbon fiber version like they had, the one with the CPM 154 blade composite CPM S90V, or the crew wear version. I had the opportunity to get the crew wear and carbon fiber, and I missed out. That was my fault. But anyway, I do like the FRCP, which is the Manix. I think the Native 5 is the FRN. I don't think it's FRCP. I think FRCP is strictly for the Manix 2 lightweight, the fiberglass reinforced copolymer. I like that version because of the closed back, you know. Closed back, there's nothing open that's pinching your hands under hard use cutting. It's very nice. So I like that, I think, a little better than the G10 versions because the G10 version is partially open, but that's just my preference. Okay, so let me get into the thick of this. Thank you for your patience. 5 minutes in, I haven't even brought up what I wanted to talk about. So, all right, let's see. I don't know. Let's start with the native for fun. All right, and then we'll get to the Manix. So the Manix has the same thing. So these are relatively new. I don't have any older Manixes on hand at the moment. But I want to show you something. So, and this is not a quality control issue, this one thing, but I wanted to just point this out. So, CPM 15V, CPM MagnaCut, okay. Little interesting differences. I don't know if the camera will really pick this up or show you what I'm trying to show you. So, you can look at the fitment of the MagnaCut. Steel, lock bar. It's very, so it's fitted, man, come on, focus. All right, it's fitted very tightly. You know, there's no gaps or anything. As an example, and like I said, I don't know if this is going to pick up on camera. It might not. But, oh, you see that little gap between this side of the blade and the other? A little bit right here in between the scale. Just ever so slight. That is because of the stone washing. All right, so when they stone wash this blade, right, it softens the steel. It takes off rough edges, and so that's what you get. That's the end result, right? You get a little bit of steel that's missing, whereas with the satin blade, you don't. Okay. Now, like I said, that's not a an issue or anything per se, but that's one thing that I've noticed. I've noticed that not just with the native, but I will show you with the Manix. Let's see. Okay, so here's a good example. So the CTS, you know what? Let's not use that one because the color handle could get confusing if anyone's. All right, so let's use the MagnaCut, Manix 2 lightweight, and the CPM 15V. Okay. Oh, this is drastic. This is easy, very easy to see. See how much metal is missing on this side? Look at the gap. Guys, where the tang hits the blade. I mean, where it locks up. And then look at the fitment on the MagnaCut version, the satin version. No metal material missing. You can definitely see the difference, the significant difference of the metal material missing. Now, like I said, not a big deal. However, all right, the lockup, right, I can feel wiggle room, I want to grab my blade, but I don't have my, you know what, do I have it? Hold on a sec, guys, again. Sorry for the interruption. All right, should have tried to come prepared, but some things happen. Anyway, that's what makes for a real video, right? This is not cut, and this is as real as it gets. Okay, so as an example, I just have my microfiber cloth here. There's wiggle room, all right? And I've noticed that there's some play, all right? Oh, maybe there's a little one here. Let me try the XHP. Nope. Not on the XHP. Let me try the 4V. Granted, it is DLC coded. I don't see much gap. Minimal, if at all. I don't even see it. All right. Okay. This kind of has a little play, but I did loosen it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, to let it be a little more of a free dropper. XHP is very solid, but that's an older version. And that's going to get into my other point, but let me go back to the MagnaCut and try that one again. I think I loosened that one too, because that one didn't have any play. Well, I did notice, though, let's just say this, guys. I'm not going to lie to you, right? I'm going to be honest. But, as a comparison, all right? Satin blade. Stonewash blade. This has play, this doesn't. In my opinion, okay, it's because of the lack of metal. Come on, focus. It's missing. Come on. There we go. It's the lack of metal that's missing that creates the play, because then there's just more room for it to wiggle around. All right, so to me, that's kind of a concern. Have I ever had one of these fail? I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, I have. I have had one of the Manix 2 lightweights fail. It was actually the Maximet version, Stonewash, and I think I might have addressed that in that video a while back. But yeah, that knife had a serious issue, and I sent it back to Spyderco. They did fix it, all right, to where it had no wiggle room. But I mean, even in my Rex 45 version, no play. I'm trying to think what other versions. I have the 4V there. I'm trying to remember if I have any others. Like I said, I sold a chunk of my collection. I'm trying to see what else. I might have one or two others I can't think of, but this is the majority. So I noticed with the older versions, right, of the lightweights, there was no play in the satin versions, okay? There was no play. I don't know if I had a BD1N. I might have a long time ago. That's hard for me to speak on, so I wish I could give you an answer there. But I have noticed, okay, from my experience, playing with the satin version blades and then the Stonewash version blades. The Stonewash version blades almost always, even the CPM 15V, have had play in them. And I attribute that to the material being taken off during the Stonewash process, which, I mean, I've spine whacked these, I think just about all of them. Haven't had any issues, so that's good. But I noticed that it's there. And if you guys are like me, you're not the biggest fan of any real play. And I actually am going to be getting rid of that at least. Well, I'm probably going to be getting rid of the MagnaCut and the CPM 15V, but I'll explain in a little bit. So that's one little difference that I did notice. That was that wasn't like a problem, but to me it's still a little concerning, which is why I prefer to stay away from the Stonewash blades, just because there's more material missing, there's less contact with the blade tang, and therefore creates more wiggle room. When there's more space, right? More wiggle room. When it's tight, no wiggle room. Okay, now, just for fun, since I have them on camera, I don't know if I've tested these. The native 5s are, oh wow, that is really rocky. Holy crow, there's that rocky. Well, I mean, yeah, I've noticed. That's the thing. The oldest model that I have in front of me that you guys see is the XHP model right now. No play. 4V, not that old. Yeah, there's still some play there. I mean, I might be able to tighten that down, but guys, I've had, so let's see if I can show this. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to bump the camera. I can still get really good action on this. Really good action, as you can see. That thing snaps. I used to have a S110V version that I wish I didn't sell. That had amazing action. Absolutely incredible. This is very good too. But there was no play. And I've noticed with the newer models that they've been coming out with, there's been play. Like, oh my goodness, there's another one that has play. It's like, dude, really? Come on. Spyderco, what are you doing? So, I don't know what's going on with their quality control. And I've noticed this with a lot of their knives lately. Is it concerning enough to say that the lock's going to fail on me? Well, I'd have to test it. I'd have to spine whack it myself and see. If it's up to my standards of holding its weight and holding its lock with the spine test, then no, I'm sure it'll be fine. And I could tighten down the screw and yada yada. Great. But shouldn't be any play. I mean, we live in 2025 and knives have come such a long way in the past 10 to 15 to 20 years. I'm sorry, I don't think there should be any play in knives. I think the tolerances and the machining should be so tight that there's no room for error. That's my opinion. So that is one thing I've noticed, and it's funny, I didn't even think about the lockup though, but that was so going in explaining about how, like I said, the satin version did not have play in the XHP that you see in front of you. The Magnica did, but I had another. I'm trying to remember if I had another. Yeah, didn't have play. I don't remember. And I really don't remember where some of my others are. Oh wait, you know what? Hold on a second. Forgot. Here's the not so old CPM Rex 45 with the white FRCP and black DLC blade. Let's check this out. Let's see. No, that's solid. Okay. So, and that's a fairly new iteration, the one I just showed you. Okay. Within the past 2 years. However, the 4V I think is newer than the Rex 45, the run that they did, the St. Nick's exclusive. The CPM 15V is brand new, still out on the shelves. You can buy it now. The XHP is way long discontinued, and the MagnaCut is still selling well. CPM MagnaCut. So, however, in all the versions that I just showed you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6 had play. 5 out of 6. Well, technically, this one didn't as well. But out of 7, sorry, you didn't see that. I wanted to show you the box that it was in. There you go, Black Rex 45. Why is that, Spider-Co? Well, I do have a theory, and here's leading into my next complaint about this. So, thing that I've noticed, and I noticed it from like the moment that the newer Manix 2 lightweight models started being released. So this is an older one, like I said, XHP. I'm just feeling it with my fingers, having that touch. This feels different, guys. Trust me when I tell you. And if you have an older model, I think you'll understand. And then you get the new one. It feels different. It's just different. It feels almost not as solid. It feels cheaper. Now, it's just something that, you notice. I notice it. This is funny. This feels like a little more slick, like right here. I mean, there's no texturing here, but compared to here, it just feels more, the plastic feels not rough. It just, not as glossy as maybe this. But the texture feels similar, but it's different. And the newer models of the FRCP, they just do. They feel different. They're similar, but they're different. And that's one thing I've noticed. And I have seen videos, a couple of people. One that comes to mind is Edge Mindset, showed how he was tightening down the pivot screw, I believe, to his Manix 2 lightweight, and it cracked. like, I've never had that problem. I've never had a problem with my Manix 2 lightweight handles cracking, ever. I've never even heard of that before, you know? That was a little surprising. I was actually, like I was saying earlier, I spoke to a distributor that I do business with on the phone, and they were even telling me, as distributors, that the quality control has gone down with some of the Spydercos. And I was like, well, it's funny you say that because I felt the same way. And we were just talking about it a little. And they explained, too, that with the quality control, okay, for instance, I was explaining because I bought another one of these. Like, I like to have an extra of the CPM 15V. Well, I can say, guys, and this will lead to something else. I've ordered 4 of these already. 4. All from different, well, actually, they were from 3 because I did order 2 from the same one. But 4 different Manix 2 lightweights in CPM 15V from 3 actually different distributors. Right? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think it was just those 3. I was going to order a 5th maybe, but I've already, that's, okay, so 1 out of 3 have been good. 1 out of 4 have been solid. Okay? And I'll explain that in a little bit. But getting back to the distributor I was discussing, or this conversation with, they explained to me that about 15%, I think at least, of the run of these 15V version knives, right? About 15% of them have had quality control issues, cracked scales coming to them. That's unlike Spyderco, right? And I like Spyderco, guys, but I'm going to be truthful and honest, and that's the only way you're going to have better quality control is when you hold these people accountable, right? They must be held accountable, okay? So if they're cheapening out somewhere, it needs to be addressed. And like I said, without even speaking to the distributor, I noticed the difference when buying this, when I bought this maybe 10 years ago compared to buying this as of late, okay? Or even this as of very recently. I noticed a difference. And if you're honest with yourself and you have one of these older versions like the XHP or maybe the S90V or something like that made years ago, you'll notice a difference. And yeah, that's just quite incredible to me. And I mean, if you look at check out a couple of my other videos, I never had a screw strip before up until I took apart the little Native recently. It stripped. The screw stripped. I never had that problem. The issue with taking apart my my one what was it? My one version of the Manix 2, the Crewwear. That's the one I kind of wish I kept, but it's not a big deal. I'm not losing sleep over it. And the Smooth G10 handles, it was the Knife Center exclusive. That, yes, people commented that I shouldn't have went that far and bent the scales. No, it wasn't me. I was taking it apart, and that's what happened. It got more drastic because I refused to give up, because I was disassembling it to reassemble some parts of that into a different Manix 2. So I had to take it apart anyway. But those lanyard holes are just absolutely ridiculous. I don't think they should be on knives. I don't like them. Most people that are knife users, carriers in the industry that I see don't have them, don't use them, don't carry them. You know, they don't put anything on them. A lanyard hole to attach to use a lanyard to attach to your knife that's sticking out of your pocket is just one more way for your pant pocket to get ripped off of your pants, or worse, for that lanyard to catch something when it does, to open it up and cut you, open the knife up and cut you, and tell me how I know, okay? I'll explain that in a minute if I remember. I gotta write some points down, but I like going off the cuff and just being real with this video. Every video. I mean, it's known to catch on things, and it's bad enough pocket clips can catch on things. That's what I was going to get at. But it was actually a pocket clip. That's how I know. It was a pocket clip. I'll just explain it briefly. On an older Benchmade, not super old, it was on a Griptilian, but the smooth G10 that was very smooth, in my opinion, was too smooth for the pocket, and it didn't really grip. And I remember my pocket clip caught on something and opened up the knife and pulled it out of my pocket. Now, thank God it was like slow motion. I was able to catch it, but that's why I like a strong detent or a strong spring to hold that blade in place, something so that blade's not going to do that, open in my pocket. So it's happened once, but I don't like it happening again. Well, let me tell you, with a lanyard, it's going to be worse, because if that lanyard catches on something, it's going to rip your pants off. It's going to open the knife and cut you. It's going to do something. So, yeah. So the next thing I want to discuss, so the thing with the stonewashing, the lockup, right, the difference in the FRCP material. Honestly, I wonder if this is still FRCP, or is it FRN, or is it some other type of material that they're not telling us that it is, and it's something else. I don't know, because it doesn't feel the same, guys. I'm just telling you. It's similar, but it's not the same. It's just not. I noticed it. And yeah, it's to me, it's concerning. I don't know if they've cheapened the quality on some of them. I just don't know, but it's, they always talk about constant quality control or constant quality improvement. CQI, excuse me. Constant quality improvement. Well, the improvements haven't been happening. Matter of fact, it's been backsliding. So they need to get their act together with some of these things. I hope they watch this video. I know it's a long one, but it's important that these things are referenced. The other thing that I can remember, and I'll just show you briefly. Let's see if it comes about with this. Oh, yeah, this is perfect to use this as an example. Now let's check this one. Oh, yeah, okay, good. All right. XHP in my left hand, CPM 15V in my right. Okay, now, here's one thing that I notice. Is this the one no, I don't think this is the one I was keeping. No, I don't think so. All right, anyway, talking to myself. Okay, see how much lower the blade sits in the handle scale with XHP? It might not be drastic, but I notice it. Look how much higher it sits up. I've caught my finger on this, guys. Going like this, I've caught my finger. I don't do that on this. I could dig my finger into here. Haven't had an issue. This, no. I've cut my finger several times on these newer versions. So why isn't the blade sitting lower in the handle? Can you see that? That's a serious issue. I don't want my hands reaching into my pocket and then cutting myself. No way. So I'll tell you what. Spyderco is kind of taking a back seat for me in some ways. I might switch to another model. I'm not saying I'm not going to keep buying them. Sure, I can. But I'm definitely going to scrutinize what I buy, which I already do. I mean, I already returned another Manix 2 because it had that very same issue where the blade was so close to the end of the handle that you could cut your finger. And it's funny, I know I'm not the only one saying this because I was talking to the distributor about that as well, and they said the same thing, that they were having issues with that as well. So that's a problem. And I'll tell you, it happens, that this is not the first time. It wasn't just with this batch of CPM 15V, because as the distributor and I discussed, there was some issues with the CPM 15V. Not with the steel, but just with the batches that they were coming out with and the quality control of it, okay? So that was an issue. The other thing that I will say, oh man, I was on a good roll. I'm trying to remember every last detail. Sorry, guys, brain fart. Oh, this is a CPM 4V. Okay, this this sits, how's that sit? Is it a little higher than the, just comparing it. It looks similar. Yeah, I think it's similar. It sits lower. Okay, so I had this is similar to the XHP and how the blade sits. Okay, so I had two versions of these. I bought two of these when they first came out. You could only buy two. And one of them was so bad. It was so horrible. The blade, let's see if I can demonstrate it. The blade, I'm not even kidding you, was like that. It was so bad you could easily clip your finger. I'm just lifting it a little, but I mean, it was so close. It was like that. And I remember contacting Spyderco. I was like, this is a big deal. You know, they were kind. They took it back. They inspected and everything. And they said, you know, we're sorry that this happened. We want to make it right. However, we can't give you another version of that knife back because it was a sprint run, you know? Well, you know what? In my opinion, they should have kept a couple back as warranted, or excuse me, as ones to cover warranty issues, hence mine. You know, they offered, they were like, well, you know, we can give you something else, a different model instead and reimburse you the difference or blah, blah, blah. But I wanted another 4B, guys, and I couldn't get it. So I had to get rid of it. And I was just disappointed with the company for doing that. In my opinion, they should have kept a few behind. They should have made a few extra to cover some warranty issues. That would, I think, would have been the right thing to do. Not say, well, we can't give you this version. It's a limited sprint run issue. Or excuse me, it's a limited sprint run, so we don't make any more. So we can't give you another one in as a replacement. Well, you know what? That's kind of unacceptable. If you're going to produce something, if you're going to fix something, you should be able to give somebody back the exact same thing. I'm not saying buying a knife like this, right, the XHP, and they only made a run of, I mean, I'm guessing. Let's just say they made a run of 100, which would actually be very small, but say they made a run of 100, and I don't use it for years. 10 years go by, and then I use it, and something's wrong, and then I contact them and tell them about it, and they say, well, sorry, this was a limited sprint run. We can't give it back to you. That's fine. That was years ago. But this was brand new. This happened in the moment that this had an issue, and I contacted them immediately, like right after it sold out through St. Nick's exclusive. It was on their website for maybe close to a week or at least 4 days, something like that. But they should have made it right by giving me another knife of the same variation. So these are some of the things that I'm bringing to your attention. Whether you've noticed them or haven't noticed them, now you know. I wanted to share it. It's important that it's addressed. Spyderco, if you're listening, you're a great company. I'm happy to support you. However, you got to get these things under control. I've never had issues with any of your knives up until recently, really. You know, I mean, there's been a couple quirks, you know, and I give credit where credit is due, but we also have to give constructive criticism. So if you're listening to this, fix these problems, you know? I really wish I had that old Maximet Manix 2 lightweight that had that issue with the lock. It wasn't just the lock, but it was not the lock that failed. Yes, that failed, but when they fixed it, they still had a really big sticking issue, and I made a video about that. But that thing was horrible. I should have recorded that video when I had that actual product there to show you. But anyway, I think that was everything, guys. I mean, I'll just show you as an example. Now, this doesn't really have that issue because it sits lower in the handle. I think the design is just a little... Hold on. Come on. Man, focus, dude. Yeah, that sits in there very well. But that's the design of this. But then again, like I said, can you imagine if this sat higher? Imagine if it was up to here. Hold on. I want to focus. and then pull the blade out. Imagine if it was up to here, people would complain. Okay? So, I bought multiple of these CPM 15Vs because, for one, Big Brown Bear, Sean Houston, right? The custom knife maker, had his own heat treatment with Spyderco. I mean, he knows what the heck he's doing, and I want to support him, and I do support him. But that's why I bought multiple of these knives, because they're not making the CPM steels anymore. And that's a video maybe for another time. Goodbye, American steel. There is no more American steel anymore, guys, for the most part. I was speaking to Sal Glesser about this. I was speaking to another knife maker that I know. He was explaining to me that we don't even have any, ore deposits. I'm not saying entirely, and he wasn't saying entirely, but generally speaking, CPM, crucible powdered metallurgy, was it in a way. Yes, we still manufacture steel. We have U.S. Steel out in Pennsylvania, but that's different. That's steel for vehicles and tools and different things like that. We're talking about knives, okay? So the ore deposits, not that we don't have them, we do, but most of that stuff is coming from overseas. And I was shocked to find out that a lot of these American steels, American steels, right? I won't lie, from what I heard, some of the and I don't know about this because this is a much older version, but some of this, like the CTS XHP, that is an American steel, but I've heard that some of that ore comes from America and some of it comes from Sweden. Why? What was another one? I think the CTS 204P, but a lot of these steels are not even mined here anymore. And especially everything that you'll see coming out now, the Magna Cut is not going to say CPM Magna Cut, and if it does, it'll only be because of a trademark. And I don't know exactly when the cutoff is, when we'll start getting that Magna Cut and other steels from Europe. But I was just looking at an article about this, actually, guys, and this is one of the other things I wanted to address. There's really no more American steel for knife companies. Now, if you're talking non-powdered metallurgy, like 154CM, D2, 440C, 420C, and different, a couple other variations, that stuff, to my knowledge, those are ingot, right? So those, they can still be mined and the ore mined here and manufactured here. I don't know many people that want 154CM blade over Magna Cut, but I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind the choice. I really wouldn't. I would pay for a 154CM blade in a Manix 2 again. I would. It's still a good steel, and the fact to know that every part of that steel, the ore that goes into it, right, the ore that makes up the blade, is manufactured here. It is actually mined in America, on American soil, using American labor. Yeah, that's a big deal for me. Okay? Does that mean I don't buy knives with M390? No. But I'll tell you what, if an American steel is advertised as being made in America, it should be made in America entirely, not made in America with quotes. Okay? They shouldn't be mining the ore in Sweden and then bringing it back to the U.S. just to smelt it, right? Or to smelt it over there and bring it back here and then put it in an American-made product. And because maybe, say, the FRN and the screws are made in, and the lockback mechanism and maybe the spring is made in America, but then the steel, even though in name or in theory the name of it might be trademarked through CPM, for instance, right? Oh, it's Magna Cut. Well, is it really? Because if it's being mined and the ore is being mined over in Europe and being brought back here, then the steel's not made here. It's as simple as that. And this is why it was so interesting talking with one of the knife makers that I know. He's been in the game for a long time. I don't want to disclose his name just for being respectful. I don't think he would care, but he was explaining to me, because he's been doing this a long time, making knives for quite a while. And it's funny because I was another knife maker that I know who's been in the game even longer than he has, big name in the company or in the industry, and he said the same thing. We were talking about not just how the knife steels are not mined, like the ore is not mined here with so many of the steels, but I mean the titanium. There's no titanium foundries here in America. The last one closed in 2009. Now, I was shocked by this. I asked another knife maker I know, a third knife maker. I asked him. He said he would find that very hard to believe. But the knife maker that told me that, he's like, look, man, he said, honestly, I speak to these engineers. I speak to these companies all the time. This is what they're telling me. You know? I'm not saying he's lying. You know? I'm sure he's telling the truth, or at least what he knows as being given to him as truth, you know, so he's sharing it. And some people might not care about this stuff, but I certainly do. If something says it's made in America, I want it to be made in America 100%. I don't want it to be 50% made here, okay? Now, that's not to say I wouldn't buy it, but I'd like to know going in ahead of time. And if it's not made in America, then say... Or if it is partially made in America, say partially made in America. Or say made in America, you know, 70% of the items that went into this product are 70% made here. Okay, great. And then I know ahead of time. But false advertising of saying it's made here when everything isn't, or some parts of it aren't, then I have a problem with that. You know, I mean, even, who was it? Microtech. Years ago, I was speaking to one of their employees, and they were explaining to me, you know, they say everything is made there, even this down to the screws. The only thing they don't make is the springs that go into their OTFs, but the OTFs are still made in America. Great. Well, is M390 a steel that's mined here? Nope. No, it's not. Okay? From Germany, brought over here. Okay? But that's a different, you know, that's a different thing. But I'd like to know ahead of time. The other thing that was interesting, too, that my knife maker, the knife maker that I know was explaining, was, you know, like, for instance, there's different properties, right, to these steels. It's not just made up of carbon, you know, it's made up of carbon, it's made up of molybdenum, it's made up of niobium, it's made up of chromium, it's made up of all these different elements, right, that go into the steel. Well, some of those elements might be brought over from overseas. So, you know, you might have the carbon and the molybdenum mined here, but the chromium and vanadium might be brought over from Sweden or something, you know, so it's honestly, it's hard to tell. And I gotta say, just from my experience, especially with like the car industry and stuff, I really do think this knife maker that I'm speaking about is right. I really think he's absolutely correct. It's almost impossible, just with the way things are nowadays, that something is advertised as being made in America. It's not fully made here in America. I mean, it depends on the item. I will say that, you know. But in the knife industry, in the car industry, some other industries, yeah, it's hard to say that it is entirely. Shoe industry, so like every last detail, every last thing, the plastic, the screws, the steel, the G10, the springs, the ceramic balls. I've heard that the ceramic... Oh, that was another thing. I'm so glad I mentioned that. He was explaining to me the ceramic balls that we use for, you know, our flipper knives that people like, right? Those ceramic balls are coming from China. And that we don't make any ceramic balls here. So I found that to be quite interesting. That I didn't know. I'd have to, you know, do my own research a little more, but that's quite interesting. Another thing was the I just had it slipped. Oh, with the titanium, going back to the titanium, when he mentioned the foundry closed in 2009, Now, I knew this, that 95% of the world's titanium comes from Russia, and the other 5% comes from America. Well, those numbers might be slightly off. Maybe it's what we import. But there's a lot of titanium that comes from China now. That I was not aware of. That's very interesting. But there's a lot of titanium that comes from China. So do your own research, guys. I'm not saying that you can't get American-made titanium. You can. But what he was explaining to me is when the foundry closed in 2009, you have all this titanium lying up in different scrap yards and places like that, or maybe some old new stock that you can still buy if you're a knife maker. And I don't have it on my phone because I'm recording on my phone, but I would show you the link that I had that he gave me, where he bought from. He'd show me as proof what he was, saying was true. You can still get some American-made titanium, but once that supply runs out, in a way, it's like it's gone. So, do we have all of our foundries closed, like he said? Well, it wasn't just him that stated. There was another knife maker who was very prominent in the industry who said the same thing. I'd have to look it up to verify, but these guys are in the industry a long time, and they know what they're talking about. And I mean, yeah, I'm just sharing that information with you. So very interesting, and I know this is quite a long video. It's pushing 47 minutes, but I hope you found it interesting. I hope that you will. If you guys are in the knife industry, if you have any say or sway or your own YouTube videos and you want to share this information, don't take my word for it. Research it yourself. I mean, and and obviously my experience are my experiences, but share it so that other people know, other people are aware, and we can call out people like Spyderco and let them know, hey, look, we love your products, but you got to fix these things. So yeah, I think that's just about everything that I had. Thank God I did cover it all. I really think I did. Oh, one last thing. This is another thing that's very interesting. Now, I haven't used this, right? This is a virgin blade knife. I've only ever kept it in the box and pulled it out for show. I have used the MagnaCut, and I have not used the 15V yet. I used this once, but I have used the 4V on my older version. I've used, let's see, what other nice steels that I use as Spyderco? I've used S90V from them. I've used S30V, CPM steels, of course. I've used the CPM Crewwear. I've used CPM S110V. All of those steels that I've mentioned have all chipped on me. And I mean, guys, let me tell you, I'm not sitting there plowing it into logs and splitting logs open or doing batoning or anything like that. I'm talking about simple cutting tasks. Like, I haven't even cut anything harder than, I think, a zip tie. Well, actually, I did one time carve some wood with one of my 4V's Manixes. That actually held up pretty well. But other than that, no, I've used it for like cutting a piece of tape or cutting a piece of thread or cutting maybe a thin piece of plastic or something. Nothing drastic, and I've always gotten chips in them. Now, granted, I think this goes in line with the fact that so many edges on knives, not just Spyderco, Benchmade, others, are burnt edges, okay? And they need to be sharpened numerous times to get that burnt edge out to where it doesn't chip. And some edges are more prone to chip than others, or some steels are more prone to chip than others. It's all about the vanadium carbides and vanadium tear outs, or carbide tear out, different things like that. But excuse me, I've noticed it, and I'm like, man, like, this is supposed to be a pretty strong steel. MagnaCut, yeah, there's a chip there, there's a chip there, there's a chip there. And I just, CP MagnaCut, and I'm like, come on. I haven't sharpened it to see if it held up better. I'll be honest, I'm not really a great sharpener. I'll have to send that to someone. But I've noticed that with all of my Spyderco knives. I think just about every one, except my Rex 45. I think that's the only one that didn't chip when using it. So that's a testament to that steel. But even my CTS XHP that I had on my Chaparral, my K390, oh man, that chipped. I don't understand why. I really don't. And I'm not abusing my knives. I use them, but yeah, that's a little wild to me, because I mean, I've had other knives that well, let's see. I mean, my 154 CMs have chipped, but those are run softer. The Benchmades that I've used, the S30Vs, have always chipped regardless. And I don't know why, because Spyderco normally runs their blades harder. Benchmade normally runs their blades softer. However, I have seen some variations. For instance, let's just pick on Crewwear for a minute. Crewwear, CPM Crewwear, has been in industry for quite a while. I have heard from numerous sources that some of the older CPM Crewwear was hardened harder than the newer Crewwear. Like, it might have been hardened at like 62 to 63 HRC is what an average was, whereas the newer ones were maybe 61 to 62 or 60 to 61, so they were a little softer. If they're making it softer, I mean, it probably depends on the batch, or maybe they're doing it to save costs. I mean, yeah, so that's just one other thing. And I mean, the other thing was too, let me just explain, I haven't had all of these knives sharpened, but some of them that have chipped, I have had resharpened, and then they just chip again. The S30V has had problems with chipping. What was the other one? The CPM S110V had it sharpened, and then it was chipping again. But then again, I didn't have it I should have had it professionally sharpened, because that I sent back to Spyderco. And same with the Benchmade. Maybe if it was professionally sharpened by someone, like if I don't have him on speed dial, but if I was good friends with Sean Houston, I'd ask him to sharpen my knives for me. But to someone that would hand sharpen the burnt edges out, maybe it would hold up better and I wouldn't have any chipping. But I'm serious, guys. I've used other knives that have not chipped before. Like, I've used, for crying out loud, I've used the Victorinox from what I can remember. Like their stainless steel is 1.14116 or 1.4116 German stainless steel, something like that. Very cheap, but decent for what it is. And I've used that before. I've used that for cutting it on plates and cutting steak, because I have a kitchen knife set made by them. Never had chipping, from what I can remember. Never had chipping. I mean, they grind their edges very thin. I think I've had the blade, go from straight to kind of crooked, but other than that, that's different. Having a blade being so thin and flexible, it's going to not warp, but it's going to bend. But the chipping, man, I've had so many chipping issues with steels. Oh, the CPM S90V. I had that, and then I had it resharpened, and then it chipped again. And I'm like, now, granted, was it ground at 17 degrees per side or 25 degrees per side? I don't honestly know, but I know that I've had them sharpened from a couple different people. Well, I think just the company and then one other person I used to use. But, yeah, I've had chipping issues, except, like I said, for the CPM Rex 45, which I have been happy with that one. So, very interesting, but I had to bring it to your attention. I wanted to share that. And, yeah. Sorry for the long video, guys, but for me, it was worth discussing. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. And I hope you have a good rest of the day. More videos to come. Just trying to catch up on a lot. So, anyway, I'll chat with you soon. Take it easy.